Okay, let's go over the Geometry Study Guide Part 2. So for slide 2, we are going to cut this. I would cut it straight across the middle here. So this is A, and here is B. For rectangle A, I can see here and here, it is a 6 by 5. So I'm going to do 6 times 5, which is 30. For B, I know the 4 is right here. This long side though, I don't really have that right now. So what I need to do is find all these little pieces that add up to the big piece. So 5 plus 5 plus 5, which is 15. So this long side on B is 15. So for B, I'm going to do 4 times 15, which is 60. And then I can add those two together. So I have 30 plus 60, which equals 90. Don't forget your units. It's inches, so inches squared. That is our answer for slide 2. Okay, on to slide 3. We're going to find the surface area of this. This is a rectangular prism. Remember, for rectangular prisms, we can label them always the same way, which would be A, B, A, B. Always A, B, A, B down the center, and then these two C flaps on the side. So for A, I have a 16 by 8. So I'm going to do 16 times 8. Remember, you can use a calculator, so I'm going to use mine. 16 times 8 is 128. But how many A's are there? 1, 2. So 128 times 2, which is 256. Then I have my B's. So B, looking down here at this one because it's already got the two numbers labeled, 6 and 16. So for B, I'm going to do 16 times 6, which is 96. And then again, there's 1, 2 of those. So 96 times 2, which is 192 for both of my B's. And finally, I have C, which I can see is a 6 by 8. So 6 times 8. 6 times 8 is 48. There's 2 of those, so 48 times 2, which is 96. Finally, once I have all my pieces, I'm going to add them up. So I've got 256 plus 192 plus 96. Type it in on your calculator. And it looks like I get 544 centimeters squared for this one. All right, next we're looking at volume of this rectangular prism. It's just normal volume. So remember, volume is length times width times height. So my length, width, and height are right here, here, and here. So I have 3 times 4.5. The 4.5 I'm going to write as a decimal so I can plug it into my calculator. Remember, 1/2 is the same as 0.5, so 4.5 times 2. So 3 times 4.5 times 2, again, just use a calculator, is 27. They were centimeters, so centimeters cubed. Remember, for volume, it's always cubed because we're saying how many cubes can fit inside. Okay, next slide. We are going to name these shapes. So remember, for prisms have a lot of rectangles and just maybe a couple, 2 of some other shape. And then pyramids, remember, are a bunch of triangles and then one other shape, which is the base. Okay, so that's the first thing I think about is there a lot of rectangles or are there a lot of triangles, so I can decide if it's a prism or a pyramid. So for this first one, I can see there are 3 rectangles, so a lot of rectangles and 2 of a different shape. So I know it's going to be a prism, so I can write that part down. but then what type of prism? So the two parts that are the base that are going to be parallel to each other, usually it's whatever the other shape is. So here they're triangles. This is a triangular prism because it's always named for the base. So triangular prism. For the next one, I see a lot of rectangles, and actually I see all rectangles. So it's definitely a prism, and since everything is a rectangle, this is a rectangular prism. Rectangular prism. Okay. Next one. So I see a lot of triangles, and the middle here is my base, which is a rectangle. This one looks like a square, so we could probably call it a square. Just to be safe, you might want to go with rectangular, but either way is fine. So I'm going to say it's a square or rectangular pyramid. Remember, pyramids come up to the point. They've got all those triangles around for their lateral faces. And finally, this last one is also all a bunch of rectangles, just like a rectangular prism, so you might just want to call it that, but this one is a little bit special because all these sides are the same. They're all made up of squares, so it's all squares. That's a special one called a cube, which is just a type of rectangular prism. Okay, Miss Townsend wants to paint her room, including the ceiling. What would the surface area be for the walls and ceiling? So she's painting, it says the walls and ceiling, not the floor. So I'm not going to include this bottom. I'm not going to include the floor when we're painting this. Okay, so we've got A and A, B and B, and these would normally be C and C, but we're not including bottom, so we just have the one C. So for A, 12 is here by 4 here. Okay, so I'm going to do 12 times 4, which is 48. And then there is 2 A's, so 48 times 2, which is 96. Then my B's, B is here, 3, and here, 12. So B is 3 times 12, which is 36. And then 36 times 2, because there are 2 B's, is 72. Finally, for our C, a 4 and a 3. So C is 4 times 3, which is 12. There's only one of those because remember, we're not doing the floor, we're not doing the bottom, so it's just 12. And then finally, I do need to add these up, so 96 plus 72 plus 12 equals, let's see, plus 12 equals 180 centimeters squared. 180 centimeters squared. All right, we're finding the surface area of this shape. So let's see, I can see that all of these 3 side lengths are the same. So all those rectangles are going to be the same. So A, and then here B and B. So for A, I have 5 by 15 for my A, which is 75. But then I have 3 of those, so 75 times 3, which is 225. Okay. For B, I have, let's see, I'm going to erase this so I can see my numbers. So I have a 5 here for the base and a 3 here for the height. So I have 5 times 3 divided by 2 because it's a triangle. Don't be that guy. So that's 15 divided by 2. 15 divided by 2 gives me 7.5. But there are 2 B's, so 7.5 times 2 is 15. And then I do want to add those together, so I have 225 plus 15, which is 240 centimeters squared. And our last last problem. How many half-inch cubes will fill this rectangular prism? So real quick, typo, whoopsies, not half inch, half centimeter cubes, because these are all in centimeters. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's think about this for a second. In every 1 inch, so if this is centimeter, in every 1 centimeter, how many half centimeter cubes would fit in there? If this is 1 centimeter, okay, well, I could fit 1/2 here and 1/2 here. So 2 cubes make up every 1 centimeter. So I'm going to replace all these numbers. Notice it's twice as many cubes fit in there. So for 2 centimeters, I have 4 cubes. For 4 centimeters, I have 8 cubes. For 7.5 centimeters, this one might be a little bit tricky. There's 14 cubes in 7 plus an extra half cube, right, which is 1 more cube. So this is really 15. You can always do those things on a calculator. You can do 7.5 times 2 to check yourself and make sure you get the right number for that side length. And then we can solve it. So I have, it's like volume, length times width times height. So I'm doing 4 times 15 times 8. So 4 times 15, which is 60, times 8, which is 480. And let's just check our units real quick. It says how many half centimeter cubes. So it's not like inches cubed or centimeters cubed. It's how many actual cubes fit in there. So 480 half centimeter cubes. That is our answer for that one.